My childhood sweetheart Marcus lost a game of truth or dare and chose a dare, kissing a girl who liked him. He embraced her, laughing with unbridled joy. After the excitement settled, someone finally remembered me. Marcus, would you be so quick to kiss Grace? The smile that had just graced his lips vanished the moment he heard my name. His voice turned icy cold. Don't even mention her. I can't stand the sight of her. Do you know she has an ugly, long scar on her leg? It's disgusting to look at. I froze in place, as if struck by lightning, slowly letting my hand fall. But that ugly leg became that way because of you. Didn't you say you'd always protect me? Everyone suddenly became interested. Oh, that explains why she never shows her legs. Yeah, so she really does have a scar on her leg. Well, a scar on her leg is no big deal, she's still pretty anyway. Marcus looked up at him. You like her? Want me to give her to you? A slight smirk played on his lips, as if he were discussing the most ordinary thing. A burst of laughter erupted inside. Even without going in, I could picture Marcus's face now, smug and arrogant. It was as if he could always manipulate others, treating them like objects to be given away or traded, then discarded mercilessly once he grew tired of them, without a second thought. The door was pulled open from the inside. His friend and I exchanged glances. I looked over at Marcus. His smile froze on his face, his brow slightly furrowed. As I looked at him, I think I finally understood, he wasn't as important to me anymore. I walked in, placed the light soup on the cluttered table, feeling remarkably calm. Marcus, I said, it must have been difficult for you all these years, having to put up with me and deal with me out of respect for our parents. Don't worry, you won't have to anymore. He reverted to his usual careless self, sitting on the sofa with his arm around the girl he'd just kissed. He nodded nonchalantly. Fine, just don't regret it. What did I do wrong? Perhaps it was falling for him, or believing him when he impulsively declared, Grace is mine, no one is allowed to hurt her. I shouldn't have believed that if I just tried harder, he would love me. Or when he gently stroked my head as a child and told me he'd marry little Grace when we grew up. But I forgot that liking someone isn't enough, no matter how much you like them. A relationship takes two. I looked outside, it had started to drizzle. I extended my hand into the rain, and the burn I'd gotten earlier while making the light soup didn't seem to hurt as much anymore. Marcus had stomach issues, so after he drank, I'd always make him a light soup. Even though he'd frown and say it tasted bad every time, I never missed making it for him. If he ever said he had an upset stomach, no matter where he was, I would bring him the light soup I'd made myself. This time was no exception. Lost in thought, I hadn't noticed someone standing beside me, nor had I realized I'd walked into the rain. I looked up, the rain was pattering on an umbrella. My face felt warm, and I hadn't even realized I was covered in tears from the rain. Why are you crying? I turned to see Ethan, Marcus's arch rival. Though his tone was casual, his eyes were full of concern. He tilted the umbrella completely over me, his own shoulder already soaked. The last thing I registered was him calling my name before I collapsed into his arms. I had still been running a fever when Marcus called earlier, saying he wanted light soup. I had a very long dream. I dreamed that when I was little, I was mischievous and went out to play without telling my parents, and I got a beating. Marcus shielded me, holding me close, his eyes squeezed shut. Even though he was so scared himself, he still protected me. He must have seen me crying because he truly panicked. He shouted at my parents, no one is allowed to hit her. Grace is mine, no one is allowed to hurt her. His shouting worked. My parents exchanged glances and then started to laugh. Afterwards, both families would often tease us about it. They'd say Marcus protected me as if I were his own wife. Hearing them, I'd feel secretly delighted and a little embarrassed. Marcus never objected either. It's strange, really. We had such a strong bond since childhood, and I always thought Marcus would protect me forever. When did our relationship start to change? Because of Tiffany. In high school, Tiffany transferred to our class. She was pretty, and a lot of boys liked her. I cautiously asked Marcus, do you like her? He froze for 2 seconds, then laughed and flicked my forehead. What are you talking about? I didn't realize it then, but perhaps he gave me his answer in those 2 seconds of hesitation. I also didn't notice that he would always glance at Tiffany, intentionally or not, always finding excuses to say one more word to her. Marcus was also popular with many girls in class because he was handsome, tall, good-tempered, wealthy, and fit. The only times he lost his temper were all because of Tiffany. A few girls in class couldn't stand Tiffany, claiming she was faking it and spreading rumors about her. Marcus kicked their desks and told them to stop talking. He warned them that if they continued, they'd have him to deal with. There were also classmates who harassed Tiffany. They would always wait for her on the way home from school and get physical with her. She and I happened to go the same way, and I couldn't stand it, so I pulled Tiffany behind me and argued with them. Just as they were about to get violent, Marcus appeared out of nowhere and started fighting with them, ending up covered in bruises and cuts. When they started chasing us, he grabbed Tiffany and ran, leaving me alone. That was the first time he abandoned me, and my heart felt like it was being pricked by needles. After that, our usual Sunday routine of eating dinner at my house, with him making my favorite homemade pasta, too. Ned into him spending time with Tiffany while I was alone at home. From then on, Tiffany appeared in their photos. When we went out, they'd walk together in front, and I'd follow alone behind. The ice cream he bought was her favorite chocolate flavor. He bought one for me too, but I didn't like chocolate, I preferred strawberry. He seemed to have forgotten. On my birthday, he promised to buy me my favorite gift. But I didn't really want a gift, I just wanted him to show up, and I'd be happy. I waited for him at the restaurant from dawn till dusk, but he never came. As I blew out my own candles and wished, I hope Marcus never leaves me, I saw a picture of him on Tiffany's social media post. He was in the kitchen cooking noodles for her, with the caption, "It's so nice to have someone cook for you when you're hungry." I cut the cake by myself and ate it without caring how I looked, crying as I ate. I was a complete mess. After that night, they became a couple. No one gossiped about Tiffany anymore, and Marcus's grades slowly started to drop. 3. When and Mrs. Davies came to find me, Marcus and I were in the middle of an argument, all because of Tiffany. He was in the middle of calling me two-faced, saying I wasn't a true friend and deserved to be in a car accident, when I froze in place. He, in turn, received a slap from his father. No one was stupid, everyone could see Marcus's changes during this period. When Davies asked, "Are you in a relationship?" Marcus glared at me fiercely for the first time and continued, "Grace, you're truly something, how could you be so wicked?" He thought I had told his parents. My heart instantly shattered into pieces, torn to shreds. He didn't believe a word I said, and even willingly destroyed our relationship for her sake. When I went out shopping, I accidentally saw Tiffany arguing with someone. Tiffany was crying in front of him, as if pleading for something. She was about to step forward and hug him, but the man didn't give her the chance and simply turned and left. Tiffany sadly called out to his retreating back, "I really like you." But believed Tiffany, not me. He said I was just jealous of Tiffany, making up lies to deceive him. He even said I deserved the car accident. My memories blurred, countless images flashing through my mind, and my head was throbbing painfully. My forehead felt cool, and I instantly felt less uncomfortable. I opened my eyes, and the person in front of me shifted from a blur to clarity. It was Ethan. "You're awake." His voice was deep and magnetic. I nodded and sat up, then looked down and saw my clothes had been changed. Subconsciously, I quickly lay back down. "My clothes." The rest of my words got stuck in my throat. He chuckled at my embarrassed look. "Your clothes were soaked. I had the housekeeper change them for you." I tucked my legs in, realizing the scar on my leg had been seen by someone else. "Do you like Marcus that much?" He had no expression on his face, but his eyes stared intently at me. His gaze made me feel uneasy. He and Marcus were college classmates, but they didn't get along. They just disliked each other, and I never knew why. "Grace," he called out. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. "Thank you for today. I like you." We both spoke at the same time, and my jaw dropped in surprise. He tilted his head to look at me, his eyes incredibly gentle, completely unlike what everyone said about him, tyrannical, domineering, and quick to resort to violence. Ethan and I had crossed paths a few times in college. I once saw him fighting when I skipped class. He took down all 4 opponents by himself. He turned to look at me, a little shocked, and I was equally surprised, having heard that he had a bad temper. I was even afraid he might hit me. But he didn't. Instead, he walked over to me and gave me a candy, a strawberry-flavored one. "Grace, like me?" he asked again, with no hint of coercion. I mumbled softly, "You're taking advantage of the situation." He lowered his head, a charming smile playing on his lips, then looked back at me. "Yes, I want to take advantage of the situation." It must have been the lingering fever, my face felt blazing hot. Before leaving his house, I made it clear to him that I had no intention of dating right now, I just want to be alone. He told me he'd wait for me, no matter how long it took. But I never expected that he had already spoken with my parents. Ethan's company had a partnership with my family's, so he had already met my parents, and they had a decent relationship. So I ended up staying at his house for the night. For during this time, I intentionally avoided Marcus, refusing to attend any events he went to. I'd just holed up in my room. My mom even joked that before, I couldn't go a day without seeing Marcus, but now I was finally growing up. I looked at myself in the mirror and slowly rolled up my pant leg. This was from high school, when Marcus fought someone because of Tiffany. He got shoved into traffic, but he shielded Tiffany. I pushed him away and was hit by the car myself. I was thankful that he wasn't hurt, and that my face wasn't injured. Afterward, Marcus visited me in the hospital, his eyes red-rimmed. He brought me my favorite strawberry ice cream and many gifts. I had only looked at the leg once back then because it was so ugly, bleeding profusely. Marcus told me, "I'll protect you from now on." I always fell for his words, whatever he said, I believed. But I didn't know that his red-rimmed eyes were because Tiffany had broken up with him, and he only came back to me because he was upset. Thinking back, Marcus only had Tiffany in his heart, he completely changed for her. When we graduated high school, Tiffany went abroad. They broke up too. I clearly heard Tiffany tell him, "Marcus, I never really liked you. I was only with you because you resembled him." She just left, and Marcus started drinking heavily every day. I'd never seen him so despondent. Every time he got drunk, he'd call out Tiffany's name. After college, he started dating, changing girlfriends like he changed clothes. Every time he invited me out to eat, he'd bring his new girlfriend, flaunting their affection in front of me, sometimes even kissing passionately in front of everyone. During the periods he was with someone, I wouldn't contact him, but his girlfriends would still seek me out, accusing me of harassing Marcus. They would even ambush and beat me. The worst time was when one of his girlfriends brought Marcus's friend, and they broke my arm. I tried to fight back, but when she played a recording of Marcus, my limbs went numb. In the recording, a girl's voice, sweet and seductive, said, "Marcus, why does she keep bothering you? I'm not happy. What do you want to do about it?" Marcus's voice was indulgent and syrupy sweet. He seemed to have given her a kiss before speaking. "I want to punish her a little. Whatever you want." Then came the sound of them kissing. I should have let go a long time ago, but I was unwilling to give up, and I couldn't believe that someone I'd grown up with would hurt me, nor could I believe I had misjudged him so completely. I'd doubted myself, but I'd never doubted him. "Come down for dinner." My mom pushed the door open, and I was still lost in thought. "Mom, I'm not hungry." "Even if you're not hungry, you still have to eat. Hurry, we have guests today." My mom looked at me with distaste. "Can you at least get dressed up? Look at you these past few days, you've been holed up in your room. Now hurry up and get yourself ready," my mom ordered, pointing at me. I quickly tidied myself up and went downstairs, where I saw Ethan sitting on the sofa chatting with my parents, along with Mr. and Mrs. Davies. As if sensing my gaze, his eyes turned in my direction. What kind of gathering was this? Was the guest? His gaze remained fixed on me, an intensity that felt like he could see right through me. "Grace, come here." I slowly walked over, his words about taking advantage of the situation from that day still replaying in my mind. Hello, Mrs. Davies, Mr. Davies." "Oh, good, Grace. Marcus will be here soon." It had been a long time since I'd left Marcus's place, and they still thought we were the same as before. Ethan spoke up then. "Grace, what have you decided about what I told you last time?" He was wearing a suit, and a cool, fresh scent wafted from him. He gazed at me gently, standing so close, more than a head taller than me. "Grace?" He called me Grace? Hearing him say my name like that made my heart strangely flutter, as if something was quietly growing inside me. Now, all their eyes were fixed on me. I glanced at Ethan. A mischievous smile played on his lips, and a compelling confidence radiated from his brow. Before I could speak, I heard Marcus's voice. "Hello, Mr. David, Mrs. Emily." Standing beside him was Tiffany. She was back from abroad? She looked even prettier after a few years. Marcus's intention in bringing her to this gathering was clear. He wanted to tell everyone that he had someone he loved and would never be with me. Tiffany greeted them alongside him. It seemed they had rekindled their old flame. Marcus had managed to win back the person he loved most. The meal, in the end, was uncomfortable. The dinner table was heavy and silent. Only kept calling me Grace, Grace. Both families sensed something was off. Halfway through the meal, Marcus formally introduced his relationship with Tiffany, stating that he didn't like me and would never be with me. He completely ruined a perfectly good meal. Uncle, Auntie, we're truly in love, Tiffany said sweetly from the side. The meal ended with Marcus receiving a slap from his father. Before leaving with Tiffany, he looked at me coldly, his eyes as frigid as if I were his enemy. Grace, I only like Tiffany. You don't need to bother with these pointless schemes anymore. When he said that, my heart, Iro. Nick Ally, felt very calm. It seemed best if he and I remained strangers from now on. In his eyes, I was simply a jealous, manipulative person. It seemed he even thought I was behind this dinner, having asked my mom to arrange it. Lying in bed, I still couldn't forget Ethan shielding me earlier, clutching my hand and warning Marcus, Marcus, Grace is my girlfriend now. You just need to control your own people. Ethan already had a face that kept people at a distance, and when his tone dropped a few notches, it became even more intimidating. I still noticed the momentary shock in Marcus's eyes. His gaze flickered for 2 seconds, then he scrutinized me before storming off with Tiffany. Ethan and I added each other on WhatsApp. He said we should go all the way with the act since we'd told my parents we were dating. In the following days, he found all sorts of excuses to appear by my side, asking me to eat with him, watch movies, go for walks, and take photos. I wondered how a CEO as busy as him had so much free time. As his girlfriend, he naturally had me accompany him to all sorts of dinners and gatherings. I'd already met all his friends. Every time they saw me, they'd call me Ethan's partner, Mrs. Miller. 6 At one of the dinner parties, I still ran into an old acquaintance, someone I had hoped never to see again in my life. It truly is a small world. The people you least want to see are always the ones you run into. Marcus attended with Tiffany. I was currently greeting people around us with Ethan. Who knew what crazy idea possessed him, but he actually approached us to say hello, though he had a terribly sour expression. He saw me holding Ethan's arm, his eyebrows furrowed, his fists clenched tight. He couldn't help but sneer, Grace, if you're trying to get my attention, there's no need to go to such lengths. I'm not interested in you. Before I could speak, Ethan wrapped his arm around my shoulder, looking at me with a doting expression. Your eyesight must be bad. Grace is my girlfriend now. As he spoke, his hand restlessly traced my shoulder, making my face flush and my heart pound. Tiffany looked at Marcus, somewhat annoyed, and called out his name loudly, Marcus. Marcus's confidence wasn't unfounded. I had indeed done something like that before, specifically finding someone to pretend to be my boyfriend just to make him jealous. But I lost. When he kissed his girlfriend right in front of me, I ran out. Tears streamed down my face. It felt like no matter what I did, he could easily see through me. That feeling, like knives slowly piercing my heart, was suffocating. Thinking about it, he'd often misunderstood me because of Tiffany. Once, it was when their relationship was discovered, and another time, Tiffany intentionally caused trouble for me, claiming I took a gift Marcus had given her. Marcus shielded her then, his face devoid of emotion, but the disgust and suspicion in his eyes needed no explanation. He had already condemned me. That was the second time I argued with him because of Tiffany. I asked him why he didn't trust me. He replied, why should I trust you over my own girlfriend? So in his eyes, I was just a miserable wretch who stole things she couldn't get herself. He would also abandon me to others without hesitation, all because of Tiffany. When broke up with him, he was in a bad mood and gathered some friends for an outing. They called it an outing, but in reality, Marcus gathered a bunch of girls and deliberately showed them off on his social media post to make Tiffany jealous. Feeling down, I left the gathering. I even sprained my ankle at the time. I never expected Marcus to chase after me and even offer to carry me on his back. He was even chatting with me, smiling. But after just a few steps, he turned aside and asked, are you done filming? I didn't react quickly enough and glanced to the side. All done. He set me down and watched the video he had just filmed, telling me as he watched, and overthink it. I just wanted to make Tiffany jealous. After all, she doesn't like you. Soon after he posted on his social media, Tiffany called. On the phone, she was crying pitifully, saying someone was harassing her. Marcus rushed over without hesitation. Before leaving, he didn't forget to nod at his friend. I knew that friend of his was interested in me. Marcus used to always tell me to stay away from him, that he had bad intentions. But for Tiffany, he simply abandoned me to him. He confessed his feelings to me, and I rejected him. But he stopped me from leaving and started getting physical. That's when Ethan took me away and told him to stay away from me, otherwise, I don't know what would have happened. I had originally planned to leave after the banquet, but I didn't expect Marcus and Tiffany to follow us out. Marcus actually suggested we all go hang out. 7. I wanted to refuse, but his single phrase, scared, made me decide to go. Ethan, following my lead, didn't refuse either. As expected, his group of friends was there. Ethan sat beside me and took off his jacket, placing it on my lap. He occasionally tucked loose strands of hair behind my ear, his eyes on me the entire time. "What are you doing?" I whispered to him. He replied casually, with a hint of possessiveness in his tone, "Isn't it obvious? I'm taking care of my own girlfriend." A glass shattering with a crash drew everyone's attention. Tiffany shrieked in fright. Marcus nonchalantly stroked Tiffany's head. "Don't be scared, my hand just slipped." Tiffany still looked at him with a frightened expression. The atmosphere instantly grew tense due to his slip. "How about we play truth or dare?" Marcus said, a smile playing on his lips as he looked at me. He was sure I'd still be embarrassed and upset because of him. He truly was childish. "Do you want to play? If not, we can leave," Ethan asked me. Now, all eyes turned to me again. I shook my head. "It's fine, let's play." Ethan smiled, as if he had made up his mind about something. Round after round, it was Tiffany's turn for a dare. The people around us cheered, egging her on to kiss Marcus for 30 seconds. She blushed and fidgeted. They were all used to this kind of thing. Tiffany glanced at me triumphantly, as if saying, "I'm about to kiss the person you like." Humph, how utterly boring. Ethan picked up a glass of wine, drained it, then turned to me. "How about we kiss too?" I stared at him with wide eyes. "What are you talking about?" He leaned closer. "Want to try it right now?" The noise drowned out my no, and my yes escaped my lips. Ethan looked at me, his eyes sparkling, his gaze growing even more intense. He was so handsome, and I actually felt an urge to kiss him. Keep playing, keep playing." Marcus's turn was over, but I felt not the slightest stir. My mind was completely occupied with Ethan's "how about we kiss too?" I quickly averted my gaze from him, but in my periphery, I caught Marcus staring at me. Immediately, the next round began, and I was chosen. The rule for this round was that I could only choose a dare, and the card I drew said, "Choose any member of the opposite sex present and kiss their Adam's apple." Everyone around us became curious onlookers, and the atmosphere instantly reached another peak. My eyes met Ethan's, he was looking at me too. Perhaps it was too hot in the private room, but the tips of his ears were slowly turning red. "Can I kiss you?" I asked nervously. He replied without hesitation, "You can." The moment I leaned in to kiss him, I could hear his heartbeat and feel the warmth radiating from his body. He pulled me out of the private room, throwing out a quick, "Sorry, some things to take care of," to the group. He didn't say a word the entire way, only making a call to his housekeeper. He pulled me directly to his house. The room was dark. As soon as we stepped inside, he pressed me against the door. His breath brushed against my face. "Grace, do you know what kissing a man's Adam's apple means?" Before I could answer, his lips descended, demanding and powerful, giving me no chance to breathe. A large hand roamed my waist. I couldn't help but let out a soft moan, and his kisses grew more fervent. After a long moment, he released me, his Adam's apple bobbing. His voice was hoarse. "Grace, I like you." "Ate my kiss," was my answer. Marcus was just a thing of the past. The person in front of me was what truly mattered. Ethan paused for a moment at my response, then became even more unrestrained. He picked me up and carried me to his room, his kisses raining down on my body. Our clothes lay scattered on the floor, his kisses fierce, as if he had suppressed them for a long time. When I woke up in the morning, Ethan was watching me from the side with deep affection. I awkwardly burrowed deeper into the blankets, mumbling, "Why are you looking at me?" He hooked his arm around my waist, pulling me closer. "I like it. You have to take responsibility for me. Last night, I quickly covered his mouth. He had kept me up all night, now I was aching all over. He removed my hand, a serious look in his eyes. "We've already done this, so you're my wife now." I tacitly nodded. He smiled and kissed my forehead. After and I got together, he made time for me every day, even taking me to his company and introducing me as his wife. I felt a bit shy, but he thoroughly enjoyed it. He often played little tricks, using the excuse of leaving documents at home to have me bring them to his office. In reality, as soon as I entered his office, he'd press me against the door and kiss me passionately, completely ignoring anyone else. To be honest, he was a bit clingy, but I enjoyed it too. The next time Ethan came to my house, it was to propose. He handed over all his properties, companies, cars, everything he owned, to me. He won over my parents with just one sentence. He said he only wanted me, and nothing else mattered. I still didn't know when Ethan started liking me. We'd had very little interaction before. Not until I saw a photo of me on his phone. In the photo, I was standing facing the sea, wearing a light purple dress. I remembered that day. I had waited for Marcus on the beach all afternoon, but he never came, even after the sun set. My mood went from excited to calm, then from calm to completely indifferent. Just as I was about to leave, Marcus showed up with a group of his friends, saying he'd won a bet. He knew I'd wait for him there. His gaze was frivolous and cold, looking at me without a trace of emotion. As he left, he told me, "You look ugly in purple." I knew he liked purple because Tiffany also liked purple. Surprised, I held the photo and asked Ethan how he had a picture of me from that time. He leaned casually against the doorframe in his white shirt, looking at me with a smile in his eyes. "My friends and I were at the beach that day, not far from you. Don't you remember? My volleyball hit you, and you didn't even respond when I apologized." My memory slowly resurfaced. There really was something like that. He continued, "I was curious what could make you so sad that you didn't even notice you were hurt. The sun was shining perfectly that day, and I thought we were perfect too. So, he fell in love at first sight with me?" I pressed him, "Then how did you know I liked strawberry-flavored things?" "Someone who cares about you would naturally know." His one sentence instantly pierced my heart. He came over and hugged me, telling me he liked me over and over again, holding me tighter and tighter. Now I understood why Marcus and Ethan didn't get along. Ethan had seen how badly Marcus treated me. "Do you know that ever since you stood up for me in front of those other classmates, I completely decided you were the one?" Ethan's voice was deep and pleasant to listen to. I had indeed stood up for Ethan. Not long after he gave me the strawberry candy, I heard 2 male classmates speaking ill of him. I forget the specifics, but they were saying awful things. I couldn't stand it and stepped forward to argue with them. Even though Ethan and I had little interaction, he gave me the strawberry candy, and I had a hunch he wasn't the kind of rotten person they claimed him to be. Ethan went on a business trip abroad, saying he wouldn't be back for 2 weeks. I stayed home these few days, otherwise, my mom would complain that I'd forget her after getting a boyfriend. During that time, Marcus came twice, but I hid in my room and didn't come out. Out of sight, out of mind. I also started receiving more harassing calls on my phone, all from unknown numbers. Annoyed beyond belief, I picked up the phone, about to question them, when a familiar voice, much more subdued than usual, came through. "Grace, you finally answered. Why are you avoiding me? Why won't you see me? Marcus, stop bothering me. We're strangers now." With that, I hung up the phone. Long ago, I had already blocked all his contact information. Ethan and Grace were childhood sweethearts. Marcus had never imagined Grace would leave his life. He had always thought Grace would revolve around him, always love him, because he understood Grace. She was loyal and persistent. He himself hadn't realized he had long grown accustomed to Grace's presence. Every time he drank, he'd think of Grace's light soup. He'd think of Grace through Tiffany, and seeing Tiffany in a purple dress would remind him of Grace wearing a purple dress as a child. Even his drunken ramblings were about Grace. It was only after his repeated arguments with Tiffany that he understood his every word, consciously or not, was always about Grace. Every night, he would remember the past, Grace following behind him and him protecting her, telling everyone no one was allowed to bully her. He'd remember the words he said, that when he grew up, he would marry little Grace. He thought of everything about Grace. Even, as she left, pointed a finger at him. ND revealed the truth. "Did you never truly like me? Have you always liked Grace? Do you know that when you're drunk, you're always rambling her name in your sleep?" He broke up with Tiffany. By the time he realized he liked Grace, it was completely too late. He had lost her for good. I stood by the window, watching Marcus standing in the heavy rain, wondering what crazy stunt he was pulling now. He stood outside for as long as the rain fell, as if doing so could somehow atone for the harm he'd caused me. In the following days, wherever I went, he went. I'd slap him, hit him, yell at him, but he would still greet me with a smile and ask, "Grace, did that make you feel better? If it did, can you please not leave me?" "Marcus," I said, "have you forgotten everything you did to me because of Tiffany?" His fingers clenched until his knuckles turned white. He stood there, a melancholic look in his eyes, his Adam's apple bobbing restlessly. "Grace, what do I have to do for you to forgive me?" "Marcus, I will never forgive you. You abandoned me time and again because of Tiffany, wrongfully accused me without bothering to know the facts, left me alone to protect her, said I deserved the car accident when it happened because of you, told your friends you couldn't stand the sight of me and that the scar on my leg was disgusting, left me stranded on the beach all afternoon for a bet, and handed me over to your friend just to make Tiffany jealous. Do you even know what he tried to do to me? When you allowed your past girlfriends to mercilessly bully me, even breaking my arm." 10 Before I could finish, Marcus covered his face with his hands, bursting into tears, completely broken. "Grace, please, don't say any more. Please." Seeing him like this, I was stunned. I hadn't expected him to be so heartbroken. "Marcus, let's just be strangers from now on. Regret is useless, after all, those were your choices. We grew up together. I never imagined we'd reach this point. You push me away with your own hands. What right do you have to ask me to stay? Don't you think it's ridiculous?" He didn't speak, just stared at me, his eyes full of pleading sorrow. He looked utterly defeated, his shoulders slumped, and finally, a bitter smile crossed his face. "Grace, if I inflicted all the pain I caused you back on myself, would you give me another chance? I truly can't figure him out anymore. Considering how ruthless he was back then, what is he doing this for now?" No. After refusing, I turned to leave, and without warning, I was swept into an embrace. The scent was all too familiar. Ethan hugged me. "Wife, I'm back." "So soon?" He wasn't due back for another week. His tone was clearly jealous. He then asked me directly, in front of Marcus. "Marcus, if you show up again, I can't guarantee what you stand to lose." Marcus remained rooted to the spot, the wind ruffling his hair, making him appear even more pitiful. Ethan maintained his composure in front of him, but when we got home, he really gave me a hard time. He called it my punishment. I didn't even have time to ask him why he came back so early, he simply kissed me. Marcus watched Grace and Ethan's retreating figures, unable to muster the strength to take a single step. He realized Grace had once smiled at him just as sweetly, but he would never see it again. He sank to his knees on the ground, crying helplessly as tears dripped onto the ground, reflecting only his past with Grace. Grace had nursed him through the night when he was sick. Grace, who was originally unskilled in the kitchen, had burned her hands over and over again trying to make him the food he wanted. He had wronged Grace for Tiffany, cursed her as worthless, and even said she deserved the car accident she had. All of these memories flooded his mind, and he collapsed and sobbed uncontrollably where he was. He had lost the girl whose heart was solely for him, and he knew she no longer belonged to him. But he didn't want to give up. As long as Grace could forgive him, he would do anything. When was bullied by those people and broke her arm, he had deliberately broken his own arm. He went to find Grace, wanting to see her, even if it was just a distant glance. Ethan also made good on his word and broke one of his legs. What hadn't told anyone was that the people who bullied Grace back then had all met with a bad end. Some were imprisoned, some were disabled, and some were suffering a mental breakdown. Because in Ethan's world, Grace was his bottom line, he could sacrifice anything for Grace. Even though Marcus had a broken arm and leg, he had no intention of giving up. He wanted to experience the same pain as Grace, believing it would make him feel a little better. 11 I heard from my parents that Marcus was in a car accident and he would probably lose a leg. I still felt a pang of sadness, after all, we'd known each other. But then I remembered he had said I deserved the car accident, and thought this outcome must be his retribution. When I saw Marcus again, he had lost all his former radiance. His eyes were numb and vacant, and he seemed to have lost all vitality. He was sitting in a wheelchair, one pant leg hanging empty. But when he saw me, a flicker of light appeared in his eyes. "Grace." He didn't voice the rest of his words. I casually took out my wedding invitation from my bag and handed it to him. "I'm getting married. Please don't disturb me anymore in the future." I knew he wouldn't take the invitation. His eyes welled up with tears, his eye sockets sunken, and his voice choked, his words trembling, "If only I hadn't." Just then, Ethan put an arm around my shoulder, his eyes crinkled with laughter as he looked at me. The moment he saw Marcus, his eyes instantly clouded over. "Mr. Davies," he said, "it seems your memory isn't very good." I changed the subject, not looking at Marcus again, and walked away, chatting and laughing with Ethan. I didn't hear Marcus say I'm sorry, because it no longer mattered to me. I didn't care about him at all, much less an apology. On my wedding day, Marcus didn't come. I heard he had attempted suicide at home. Later, Mr. and Mrs. Davies took him abroad for treatment. His mental state remained poor, and he was on the verge of a breakdown every day. Every year, I would receive packages sent from abroad, but I never opened them. I disposed of each one. Ethan and I had a very happy married life. He always prioritized me in everything and put me first. He often held me and said he wished he had met me sooner, that he would never have let me suffer so much. His eyes would always sparkle with tears when he said it, as if he had endured those hardships himself. Whenever this happened, I would give him a hug and tell him how happy I was now, having married a man who loved me with all his heart. Thank you for watching today's story. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section. Feel free to share your views, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.